Hey, it's Matt here from Tradesman Digital Marketing. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through conversion rates in Google Ads, how to optimize them and improve your conversion rates overall for your account to make sure you get more leads. Now, first off, what is a conversion rate inside Google Ads? And a conversion rate is essentially the amount of clicks you get on an ad versus the amount of leads you get. So if you had 10 clicks and that ends up getting you one lead, that is a 10% conversion rate because 1 divided by 10 is 10%. So that's what a conversion rate is. Generally very simple. Most people can get the grasp of it. Now, how do we start to improve our conversion rate? And that's a little bit more tricky. Generally, it breaks down to one of three things. The first being keywords, the second one being ad groups, and the third being the actual landing page. Now, there are other things to note, and I'm going to go over them as well. I created a nice little chart or guide or whatever it is, little document here. I'm going to link this below in the actual description here. So if you want to check it out, it goes over everything I just said. But it's generally one of those three things. There's a few other things, but let's start off with the absolute first thing, the keywords. And generally, keywords will make or break your campaign. So when you actually come into your keywords and you're actually, finding keywords that you want to bid on, make sure your ads pop up for, you really want to go after high buying intent keywords. And what I mean by this is going after keywords that show people are ready to buy your services or products. So if we're going after, fiberglass pool installation, we should be going after fiberglass pool installation companies near me. Something that shows high buying intent, that this person is ready to make a decision and they're ready to buy your service. Not something just very vague. So if we're doing pool installation, we don't want to just go after in-ground pools or fiberglass pools. This could be just people looking for pools. They're not actually looking to buy. Maybe they're just looking for images or certain dimensions. It doesn't really give us the impression that there's high buying intent behind it. And the higher the buying intent behind it, generally, the more likely you are to have a very high conversion rate behind it because you're able to match what you're selling with the actual keyword and what the customer is looking for. And if you can do all that, chances are you're going to have a good conversion rate. The second thing is with keywords is the actual match type. Now, Google has made a change recently to match type that I don't really like, but essentially they got rid of broad match modified, combined that with phrase match, and now phrase match is a lot more lenient than it used to be. And for me personally, I don't like using phrase match anymore just because it's too lenient and it goes over after just about everything. But if I do need to find keywords and we're just having a real pain finding them in the keyword planner, we will use phrase match just to find the search terms that people are looking at, and then we generally turn phrase match off. But for the vast majority of campaigns for service-based businesses that you're trying to get leads for, you should be going after exact match keywords, building out a nice long list of exact match, and then going after that, figuring out which ones are winners, which ones are losers, and then deciding and optimizing for a better conversion rate overall. And generally, I recommend once a keyword has at least 10 clicks with it, I generally make a decision. Does it have 2 or more conversions? If yes, keep the keyword. If no, if it has 1 or less or none, generally we get rid of the keyword. Sometimes there are keywords that they really seem like good buying intent behind. They do have 1 conversion. Maybe it's a landing page problem and you can work with it. But most of the time, 2 or more we keep, 1 or less we get rid of. And this really helps with conversion rates. We generally have very high conversion rates with most of our accounts, and we generally see a lot of success with that. The next thing is search terms. So even with exact match, you're still going to get search terms you don't want to appear for. So what you have to do is come down here to the actual search terms report. And since this is a demo account, there are no actual search terms here. But if you did actually have data here, there would be a whole list of search terms. And you're going to scroll through this every week or so. Make sure the terms we're actually bidding on are ones we actually want to go after. Sometimes even with exact match, you're going to get terms that aren't really relevant to you, and they're worded in a way that you go, no, I don't really want to go after that. We then have to add these to the negative keyword list to make sure we do not appear for them anymore. So we're going to go over to the negative keyword list. We're going to hit the plus icon, and then we're going to add our negatives to this list and then hit save. And this will stop you from popping up on keywords you don't want to appear for, which is really nice, and it saves you a whole bunch of money and helps with conversion rates overall. Now, one last thing I would recommend is continuously building out your ad group. So say we have 3 ad groups. As you can see here, let's do how many ad groups? Okay, that doesn't have enough ad groups. Say we have here 4 ad groups, and we really want to continuously build them out. And the reason for that is we want to find new keywords and new areas that we can sell our products or services. And the more search volume we can generally get, the more likely we are to find keywords that are higher converting keywords. And yes, you may lose some money expanding. You have to take calculated risk in Google Ads and try expanding, slowly but surely, and find those keywords that are really going to be winners. Do you want to make your entire account experimental and never have any data behind it? Absolutely not. You want winning keywords, but you also want to add in a few keywords that may or may not work. Always try new things, build out new ad groups, and find keywords that could be winners. Test them. If they are winners, add them to their own ad group. Continue building out your account, and this will help with conversion rates and lowering your cost per lead, because then Google's going to have more options to choose from when it comes to finding good keywords to bid on. Now, moving on to ads. Ads are very important and often overlooked. A lot of people will just set one ad. They won't even fill in all their headlines. They'll put one or two descriptions and they're just like, yep, send all of our keyword traffic to just this one ad and it'll be fine. Turns out it's not fine. They'll have terrible click-through rates. They'll have just terrible conversion rates because no one's going to be clicking on them, and the people who are clicking on them are really poor quality leads. Generally, and this is deemed by Google, they're going to give you just not as good traffic. You're just going to see terrible conversion rates. You're going to have a low ad rank. Your entire account, for the most part, is going to be in a very, very bad spot. So what I recommend doing is having at least 3 ads in every single ad group. Make sure, even if you only have to change like 1 or 2 words. So maybe we have our entire ad set up for in-ground. We can just change it to fiberglass pool builders instead of in-ground pool builders. And that little change, I know it doesn't seem like much, but will make a massive difference to the customer when they see that, because it's more relatable to them and they're more likely to click on it. That increased click-through rate is substantially going to affect your ad rank. It's going to give you favorability in the eyes of Google. Google's going to more than likely lower your cost per click because you're going to have a higher ad rank. You're not going to have to pay as much per lead. This will help with conversion rates. Overall, you just need to make sure you're constantly trying to improve your ads. Always A/B test this. So even after a couple weeks, you can come into your ads and generally you'll have one ad that is the winner. So you'll have the vast majority of the clicks. You'll have another one that's doing all right, and then the third one that's just dead. Take the third one, replace it, add new ad copy, and always try to A/B test it and try to beat the champion or the winning ad that is currently in spot. If you continuously do this, your click-through rate will skyrocket and you'll see much more success inside Google Ads. Now, another thing I should mention about ads is please make sure your ads match your keywords. I see so many people inside Google Ads that their ad is not relevant whatsoever to their actual keywords. So if you have keywords like in-ground pool installation, please make sure your ad says in-ground pool installation. Don't put vinyl pool installation or just general pool installation. That's not specific enough. We need to be very specific. And one of the things with this is if someone types in, let's say, fiberglass pool installation, and your ad pops up and it's fiberglass pool installation, and then they go to a landing page and the landing page says fiberglass pool installation. This creates message match, which one helps with the landing page and Google expecting a high conversion rate on it, so it understands that, yeah, that's a good landing page, people are clicking on it, people are submitting leads, that's good. A good landing page experience for a customer. They're clicking on the ad, which means their ads are good, so we should give them a higher ad rank, meaning lower the cost. And then the actual keywords are good, so we're going to continuously show them at a high spot inside Google's auction house. So it's just really important to make sure all of your keywords line up. And yes, it will take some time to build out these ad groups, but it is definitely worth it when it comes to increasing your conversion rate. One final note about ads is we really want to make sure our ads look different. So try looking at your competition, look at their ads, get some ideas from them. But really, a lot of the ads are very basic and they're just very generalized. If we can add a little spice, a little something to make our ad different, maybe it's looking for your dream pool with a question mark. That's so much different than all of the competition, or looking to install a fiberglass pool with a question mark, call now for a free quote. These are really different than what most of the competition is doing. And again, like I said, make it more specific. Chances are you'll have a very successful ad inside Google Ads. Now, moving on to landing pages, and I really recommend using landing pages instead of a website. They see substantially higher conversion rates, and landing pages can make or break your campaign. And we really want to, one, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate everything. Have a nice little hero section with, maybe a picture of what your service is with a headline that is very relevant to the actual keyword they just typed in. So if it's fiberglass pool installation, you could have fiberglass pool installations as your main heading, and then a few things below it, reasons to buy, like lifetime guarantee, award-winning installers, call now for a free quote, or email us. Very simple. And then below that, you can have testimonials and your awards. keywords, and you can, build out the landing page below it. But you really want to keep it simple. Please don't link to other websites. We want to keep the individual on this website. We want to keep it simple. We want to make sure there's not just so much going on your website that you can't understand it. I see so many people use all these extravagant colors, and it just overwhelms the customer, and they go, where do I click on? Which phone number do I use? There are 3 different phone numbers. There's 2 different email sections that I can email out. What do I use? It confuses them, and they leave. And I know it may look nice, it may look pretty, but it doesn't convert. And the job of the landing page is to convert, and that's it. That's all it has to do is convert. So yes, most of our landing pages that we use look really, really boring. And most people go, well, why are you using them? They look terrible. No one's ever going to click on that. And the funny thing is they do click on it, they do submit their leads, and the conversion rates are very high. And yes, most of our landing pages don't look great. They're not flashy. They're not, over the top. They don't have moving parts. But that doesn't draw people in, and that doesn't make people convert. Simplicity, making it easy to read, getting your point across on why they should pick you, these things convert and make people submit their information to you and allow you to call them back or email them back, whatever you want to do. But this is very important. Please don't overcomplicate your landing pages. Another thing about landing pages that you should be doing is A/B testing them, moving parts around. Maybe your customers really care about sections like testimonials, and they should be placed higher up on your landing page, or maybe the awards and certifications are more important, and you can move all these things around. One thing I do recommend testing a lot is the actual header or heading, the actual giant text at the very top on the top left corner that says, pool installation services, or whatever you've put there. This is very important because it's the very first thing people read, and we really want to get people involved to read the rest of our landing page, or just enough till they get to the point where they click call or email us. That's really what we want. But make sure the stuff that they see, you're testing more often than not. Of course, you can flip the segments around. Maybe testimonials are more important to them, but really make sure your hero section, which is everything that immediately pops up once the person sees it. Test all this stuff first, make sure that's good, and then move on to the rest of your landing page. That's what I would recommend. And this, if done right, will substantially increase your conversion rate, lower your cost per lead, and you'll have a much more successful account. Another thing is calls to actions. I completely forgot about this. Please don't put 37 calls to actions. Like I said before, simplicity wins. At most, have 2 calls to actions. Phone number, email. That's all you need. I see so many people who have emergency phone numbers, 3 different phone numbers to multiple locations, 2 email inquiry sections. It's like, which one should I pick? And it's like, yeah, we should give the customer a little bit of choice, but too much choice is going to cause cognitive overload, which is going to stress them out, and they're going to be more likely to leave because they don't know what option to pick. They're going to get frustrated because they feel stupid, and they're just going to leave and find somewhere else. So 1 or 2 calls to actions at the most, a phone number, an email lead. Those work perfectly. You could even just put a phone number or an email lead, just one by itself. That works completely fine as well. That's the final note on landing pages. All right, so now these are the things to keep in mind in your actual account. Conversions are very important. This might be under my face so you can't see it, but conversions are very, very important. And so many people overlook conversion tracking, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Conversion tracking allows you to see what your conversion rate is, and it allows you to optimize for it. So if you don't have a good conversion tracking system, I recommend getting one, spending the time to, set up all the global site tags, the trigger tag, making sure if you're using call tracking, making sure, CallRail or whatever service you're using is set up properly and it's integrated with, your landing page software and Google Ads and maybe even analytics, making sure all this is set up properly, because if it's not, you're not going to be able to optimize your conversion rate, and it's going to be just terrible for you because you don't know whether or not your account is making money. So that tip may not increase conversion rate, but it does allow you to actually understand what your conversion rate is and then allow you to optimize it from there. Another thing I would recommend is looking at your bidding strategy. I recommend normally getting as much data into your account as possible at the very beginning, using a maximize click strategy, and then switching over to target CPA once you have at least 30 conversions in the account. This doesn't always work for every account, but the vast majority it does. And then once we move over to target CPA, because we're utilizing Google's AI, you'll generally see much better conversion rates. Are there other bidding strategies that might get better conversion rates? Yeah, absolutely, but you have to test it. We normally go with target CPA. This is generally the absolute best when it comes to leads. If you're in e-commerce, maximize conversion value might be a lot better than, target CPA. But for most service-based businesses, you're absolutely fine with target CPA, and it will help boost your conversion rate, which is just another great thing to do inside your account to help get more leads. Another note I should make is extensions. And a lot of people actually overlook extensions. They're very useful and sometimes they produce absolutely fantastic results. Call extensions, more often than not, are absolutely fantastic for getting you lots of calls. And generally, they have a very good click through rate and you're able to generate a lot of leads with them. However, some extensions don't show all that well, and some aren't actually going to be that useful. So, say you have a location setting and really you don't actually have a business, it's more of like a home or just an area you work out of, and people don't actually go to it, and people are clicking on this location extension and not actually going there. I would recommend getting rid of the location extension just because you're not actually going to be using it and you're wasting money on all these clicks. It's just a waste of money overall. And if you do this, this will again help with conversion rates because you're not wasting all that money on all these clicks that you're not going to see. It's a nice little note to make. In some other extensions also I would look at like site links, callouts, making sure all of these actually help instead of hurt your campaign. It's just very important to look over these stats and make sure your extensions are working well. And if you do that, conversion rates should increase. Our second last note here is the actual days of the week. So this is something I rant on about, and if you've seen any of my videos before, you've probably noticed that I've set ad schedule and the days and the hours quite a bit, but this is super important. The days in which your account is going to run, your ads are going to show, really can have a substantial effect on your conversion rates. We see a lot of the time running Mondays to Fridays are the absolute best when it comes to conversion rate and getting a low cost per lead. Now, that being said, there are, circumstances where Saturday and Sundays convert just as well or better than weekdays. But for most people, they're very busy in the middle of the week and they don't have all this time to, look for the lowest quote. They're just, they're generally going to go find the first person that pops up, call them and just buy from them. Maybe they might get one other quote, but generally they don't have all that much time on their hands, so they're just going to go with the first person. Now, this is great for you because you're able to advertise Mondays to Fridays, and then we just cancel out Saturdays and Sundays. Because on Saturdays and Sundays, people have a lot more time on their hands. They're going to look for the lowest quote, which costs you a lot more money. So I generally recommend running Mondays to Fridays for most service-based businesses. You're generally going to see an increase in conversion rates, and you'll generally see a lower cost per lead, and is an absolutely great recommendation for most businesses. Another thing I should mention is the actual hours. So I recommend only running hours that you can actually return these calls to immediately or within half an hour. Please don't run this 24/7 if you can't return these calls. This comes back to actually selling the individual. If someone puts an email inquiry in at 8 o'clock at night and you don't return their email till 10 o'clock the next morning, they've sat there now for like 14 hours and they've probably gotten bored. They probably went and found someone else, and you've just wasted a whole bunch of money on a missed opportunity. So I recommend only spending money on when you can actually return the calls. It really helps with the sales process, and it allows you to have better success inside your campaign. Now, the absolute final thing, I know I've been ranting on here for a bit, is audience segments. Now, audience segments are really interesting and really overlooked. I see a lot of campaigns that don't really adjust any of this whatsoever, and I'm going to group in demographics as well here. And what you can do with demographics is actually come in and segment out by, what are we in? Let's just do pools right now. We can segment out age. So say our product, we're not going to sell to 18 to 24-year-olds. We can just get rid of that. So we're not wasting money on selling to people that either don't have the finances or just not in our age range to sell to. We can also adjust for household income as well. So maybe we're selling super high-end goods where only the top 10% can buy. We can get rid of all the other earners in here. Same with gender as well. Maybe we only want to sell to females, or maybe we only want to sell to males. Whatever we want to do, we can adjust these demographic settings and really see a boost in our conversion rates. Again, very overlooked most of the time, and I really recommend segmenting this out because it will definitely help with conversion rates. The other thing is audience segments. So you can adjust this at a campaign or ad group level. I generally recommend the campaign level just because it's easier. But you can actually go in here, and then once we've had enough data on all these market segments, and I recommend just adding as many as possible for the most part and setting it to observation mode. That way we can collect data on these people. And then once we have enough data, we can then go into targeting and adjust and figure out like, okay, maybe landscape design, we're getting really, really good conversion rates on it, and we want to pay more for these leads because these leads are really low cost per lead and the conversion rates are great. We're willing to pay more for them because we want more leads. And maybe another audience is just terrible. We can get rid of that. That's generally what I recommend with the audience segments. Again, this will help boost conversion rates because you're really nitpicking here, finding the absolute best audience for you, finding the best demographic for you, finding the best keyword, ad copy, landing page. If you find all of this and you adjust all these things, chances are you'll substantially increase your conversion rate, you'll improve it tremendously, and you will have a very successful account with a lot of leads coming. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day and take care.